Good morning, Torquay Academy. This is Mr. Pasanakurvich speaking, and this is my tutorial for sequencing techniques in Logic Pro X. Over the course of this tutorial, we're going to be speaking a little bit about cut and paste, about trimming techniques, about looping, and about automation. You're going to be remixing the vocal track of DJ Snake's Lean On. And hopefully, if you get the remix finished by the end of this lesson, we'll be moving on to a little bit of work within Ultrabeats as well. But that comes up a little bit later. So the first thing that you're going to do when you get to Logic, you'll open up a new project. So new from File. And you'll be presented with a pop-up box that will give you the option of whether to go for a software instrument, audio, drummer, external MIDI. I'd like you to click audio, and you'll need 2 tracks for today. And these 2 tracks are going to be filled by the 2 MP3s that you've already downloaded from your email. One of those tracks is the vocal, and one of them is the instrumental without any drums. After you've done that, I'd like you to click here on the time bar, and the cursor menu where I'm clicking at the moment. Change that cursor to the scissors tool. This means that when you click Command on your keyboard, the scissors will appear and you'll be able to snip your audio files exactly where you place them. If you click Command and you don't click it over one of the samples like I'm hovering over there, the scissors tool won't show, so it's got to be over one of these samples. Then left click and you can snip the sample to length. If you zoom in a little bit using the icons on the top right, you can make those fine cuts that you'd like, but I'm just showing you very quickly for a moment. Let's have a bit of a listen to that.
Do you recall not long ago? Do you recall not long ago?
Okay, you hear that the cuts haven't made any changes to the audio. At the moment, they've just made little slices. I'm listening to this vocal refrain at the moment, and this is the part that I'd really like to cut and paste and use into my remix. I'd like to drag that right to the front. I think it might be quite effective there. We'll zoom right into that sample, then we'll play it. Yeah, just about there. Then we'll use our command tool, snip, and here's where we'll copy and paste the sample over. In fact, before I copy and paste it, I'm just going to drag that sample to the front just by clicking the top, dragging and dropping it to where I'd like it. And we'll press move automation with it, which means that any volume changes you've made will move with that track.
Do you recall not long ago?
Now this is a really effective way of rearranging and pre-existing audio track to where you'd like it to be. But there's a problem here because I wanted to duplicate this sample, and this is where copy and paste is going to be a really useful tool. Before I get to that, I'm just going to show you a little bit about trimming that sample. If the sample's not as accurate as you'd like, hover over the bottom right hand corner. You can drag in or drag out to shorten or lengthen that sample as you see fit. Don't use the top right. The top right's for looping, but the bottom left, that will just drag or drop out the sample. Anyway, before we get to that, let's move that sample back to where it was. We'll move automation with it as well. Press Command C to copy. Then select where you'd like to paste it. Place the cursor there and select the audio track you'd like to paste it on, and Command V. So Command C for copy, Command V for paste. Let's have a listen back.
Do you recall not long ago? Do you recall not long ago?
Copied and pasted, it's trimmed to length. The next thing that we'd like to do here is we're going to listen in to this small vocal melody here. In fact, it's not really a melody, it's just a backing vocal. But we want to make a little bit more of that. It sounds brilliant. It's quite quiet in the mix though. So we're going to use our copying and pasting technique again. We've already snipped up and chopped up those samples, so select them both. If we press Shift, we can select 2 samples at a time. Command C, and Command V. We're shifting those right to the front of the track. Now if we move the playhead back, let's have a listen to how that sounds. Great. What you'll notice about these two samples is the first samples are a lot quieter than the second, a bit filtered. So we're going to affect really the second sample. That's the sample we want. We want to really make a feature of it. What I'm showing you now on the screen though is how I'm using trimming to again make fine adjustments to the sample that I'd chopped. I chopped it a little bit inaccurately, so I'm going to zoom right in on bar 2. I'm going to get to the point where the bar line is, and I'm going to drag that sample back to bar 2, so it's really precise. It's quite important we do that, because if we get looping that audio and the chops haven't been precise, we'll end up with a sample that phases out of time with the vocal. So we've got it quite accurate now. We'll hover over the top right of that sample and drag it out. And it's as easy as that. We've dragged out that sample and it will loop round for as far as we drag it.
Do you recall not long ago?
Now we can hear that small vocal, backing vocal, go all the way through the start of that piece. Now, lastly, guys, in fact, I'm going to show you another looping technique in a second, and that is up here on the time bar. Now, if you just drag your mouse, left click and drag over the bars that you would like to loop round, this is another way you can use looping to help your mix. Now you've created an everlasting loop of all of the tracks that are soloed or aren't muted within your project. So the track returns to the beginning. This is such a useful tool, as it means that you don't have to keep on pressing stop and going backwards. It'll just play everlasting until you've got the levels and you've got the effects that you would like. Next, we're going to move on to automation, and we're going to affect the volume in real time on this vocal track. So you'll see now on the screen, I'm in the automation screen, and I got there by simply clicking A on my keypad. That's A on my keypad. We'll open up this screen, and now we can see the yellow lines across each of our tracks. Now I'm on the vocal, the backing vocal track here. Left click to create a node and drag that node up, and you'll hear the increase in dynamics of that vocal sample.
Do you recall not long ago?
So now, guys, we've used automation to change the volumes, and this is particularly useful for fade-ins and fade-outs, or if the sample ends abruptly, to be able to fade out the sample so it's a lot more smooth. You can do that. You've got to be wary, but you can do that. You can also use automation on effects. So in our effects channel here, we've already got a reverb. Where I'm clicking our automation parameters, we can change this to reverb instead of volume, and we're going to affect the wetness of that reverb, which means how much reverb is going to be placed onto this track. Putting it up to about 60%, and we might have a huge tail over to 100% at the end of that channel. That will mean that we don't have any abrupt changes at the end of these samples, and the sample carries on for a little longer than it actually does, with a nice reverb tail. So hopefully you can hear the difference there. I'll drag out the loop a little bit further. So automation, guys, an absolutely fantastic tool. I hope that this tutorial will have been useful for you. Enjoy remixing, lean on. Remember to use your copying, your pasting, your trimming, your automation, and splitting of your tracks, and have fun with this. I'll play you the remix that I made earlier. So from the tracks that you've got here.
Do you recall not long ago? Do you recall not long ago? Do you recall not long ago? Do you recall not long ago when you would walk on the sidewalk?
Thank you very much, Talkie Academy. I hope you found the tutorial useful. If you need to go into any specific detail about any of the techniques